Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into the cultural and grammatical secrets behind sharing life-changing news in English. Whether you're relocating for a brand new job, heading back to school, or sharing the ultimate news that you're starting a family, native English speakers use some very specific and honestly fascinating language patterns to deliver these updates. And if you're an English learner, mastering how to naturally use these phrases is absolutely essential for connecting deeply with native speakers. So let's just dive right into it. Picture this. Someone calls you up, and instead of the usual, "Hey, how are you?" they open with this incredibly dramatic question, "Are you sitting down?" If you're learning English, hearing that totally out of the blue might make you panic just a little bit. But let's look at exactly why native speakers use this phrase to build up that suspense.
The psychology here is actually really fascinating. Why do we ask people to sit down for good news? Are we genuinely worried someone's going to faint? Well, no, not really. Even though we don't actually expect anyone to pass out from the shock, this phrase acts as a wildly effective conversational tool. We live in a fast-paced world, right? People are busy, they're distracted, they're stuck in their own heads. Asking, "Are you sitting down?" is this powerful mechanism to instantly grab distracted listeners' full attention, so there's absolutely no way they miss what you're about to say.
Let's move right into Section 1, How to Stage Big News. To pull this off naturally, you need a solid toolkit of staging phrases. You might go with a classic like, "I have big news," or "So, big update." You can even throw in some adjectives to match the vibe, like, "I have something crazy to tell you." Maybe if you're going back to get your MBA after years of working. Because people are usually preoccupied, using these exact phrases creates a sort of platform. Think about it. If you casually mumble, "I got a job offer in Austin," they might barely even hear you. Staging ensures your listener is fully locked in and prepared for the big reveal.
So it all really comes down to this perfect three-step announcement flow. Step 1 is the staging, step 2 is the actual reveal, and step 3 is the reaction. In our source material, the host Lindsay actually asks her co-host for a literal drum roll right before revealing her big secret. She literally says, "Should we do a drum roll?" This just brilliantly shows how staging sets up a super memorable moment and actively invites the listener to share in your joy.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 2, the surprising meaning of "I'm expecting." Now, here is where English grammar gets genuinely fun, especially for learners trying to sound more natural. Let's compare these two uses. Normally, the verb expect is transitive, meaning it desperately needs an object. You'd say, "I am expecting a package," or "I am expecting a baby." But native speakers constantly use it as an intransitive verb, completely dropping the object. And when you drop that object and just say, "I am expecting," the phrase magically transforms into one very specific, universally understood meaning. If you just say, "I'm expecting," and stop right there, native speakers instantly know you mean you're having a child. As an English learner, a massive tip for sounding completely natural here is to actively resist the urge to add a baby to the end of that sentence. People are so incredibly used to hearing it this way that adding the word baby is basically unnecessary. It's the standard, most natural way to drop this specific news. But okay, this unique little grammar quirk leads to a genuinely hilarious danger for learners and native speakers alike. Imagine you're at the office and you say, "I'm expecting," but then you pause to clear your throat before finishing with an update on my moving status next week. In that split-second pause, your coworkers might totally think you're announcing a pregnancy because that intransitive use is just so strong. Any awkward pause right after "I'm expecting" immediately makes a native speaker think, "Baby." Let's jump straight into Section 3, Tips for Mastering Natural Usage. Now, if "I'm expecting" doesn't quite fit your exact situation, you've got a fantastic toolkit of alternatives. You can keep it super simple with "I'm pregnant" or "I'm having a baby." But what if you're sharing the news for your family? You can naturally say, "My partner is pregnant," or use their name, like "Sheila is pregnant." Also, if it's not your first kid, saying "I'm going to be a mom again" or "a dad again" is the absolute perfect way to express that. Having these options ensures you always sound completely fluent and natural, no matter the context. This quote right here is just a brilliant combination of everything we've talked about so far. "I have news" is our perfect staging phrase. "I'm going to be a mom" is our natural announcement. Matching a staging phrase seamlessly with a natural announcement phrase guarantees you get maximum impact. It makes absolutely sure your listener is ready, and it delivers your big message clearly and joyfully. And finally, Section 4, the culture of sharing joy.
It sounds kind of weird when you first think about it, right? Why on earth would we be nervous to share wonderful, happy news like a promotion or a new baby? Well, even when the news is purely joyful, we're still human. We naturally worry about how other people are going to react. Our source discusses how we sometimes feel hesitant because we worry our news might contradict how other people view our life path. We start overthinking, like, will they be shocked? Will they think this totally goes against my personality? But the reality of sharing these big updates is beautifully captured in this quote from the source. People get almost more excited than I am. Because huge life events like having a child are these universal human milestones, your friends and colleagues often reflect on their own lives when you tell them. They end up matching their excitement with this incredible, overwhelming joy. It really is a profound moment of human connection. And the best part? Your community usually completely rallies behind your new identity. Take the host in our source material, for example. She was known as this massive world traveler. When she announced her baby news, she was a little nervous people would assume her traveling days were just over. But instead, her sister-in-law excitedly gifted her a travel book specifically designed for kids, literally highlighting places like Turkey and Japan based on a toddler's age. It's such a perfect example of how a community supports your next chapter, proving that your old passions can beautifully blend with your new life.
As we wrap up today's explainer, I've got a question for you to chew on. Does your native language have a verb that changes meaning completely when you drop the object, just like I'm expecting? Reflecting on these fascinating little differences between English quirks and your own language is honestly one of the best ways to solidify exactly what you've learned today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me to master the art of the big reveal. Keep practicing these phrases, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.
Got it! What's up? Catch up! Aha!